Okay, you're going to be moving down.
Which way do you want me to go?
No, you're always, it's fine, I'll follow you.
It's fine.
Yeah, so people can see you. Okay, hi. So we are now exactly 9 o'clock. And my name's Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery.
I'm Felice, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery as well. And welcome, everybody.
Welcome, everybody. So we are so glad that you're here. We know that you had other things to do today, and you chose to put your health first. So, and also the other thing that we're all choosing to do is to live happy, healthy lives, which is really our focus. We are tired of being sick and tired, and that's really the motivation that got us here today. And our condition is something that affects both men and women. We're not that exclusive that it only affects a certain type of person or certain people of certain backgrounds or whatever that is. It goes cross borders and cross demographics and cross ages. I realized that I had an issue with food addiction when I was 7 years old, and that was when I first started using food to calm myself and to placate myself and to basically control my environment. I started taking amphetamines when I was 12, and it's always been a cycle of up and down weight. I've gained almost probably 600 pounds over my lifetime.
And I'm going to interrupt you just for a second, because you said I started at 7 to use things to control my environment, when actually you started using at 7 to control not feeling the way that you were feeling.
Right.
Right.
Which is 100%. Okay. So the interesting thing that it always comes into is, before we even start, I just want to say one thing that's really important. We are not here to judge each other. There's nothing that any of us have done that is any worse than anyone else has done. We, as addicts, we have done despicable things, not only to ourselves, but to others. And part of getting well and getting better is taking ownership of it, being able to put it in a place where it can't hurt us anymore. Because there's one thing that really defines addiction, and it comes not so much from a place of fear, but from a place of sadness. When we start going through that phase with ourselves and our bodies and our relationship with ourselves, when we go, I wish I could die, is one of those things that we are so demoralized and at that point of being so low, that comes from such a place of sadness, that to tap into that sadness is the point that gives us the hope towards freedom, to be able to release that, to be able to get well and to get better. That changes the whole dynamic to the point of where I wish I could live and be happy. And that is like a totally different focus as well.
Yeah, and in other programs I call it the gift of desperation. And so we know that usually we don't change, and I don't know why humans are this way, but we don't change until something is so painful that only sitting in that pain is the only motivator for the change.
So the interesting thing is, there shouldn't have been a reason why I'm an addict. I grew up in a really loving home with great parents, with everything. I live in a beautiful home. I live in a tremendous life, and I will look to be sad on the inside. The sadness that I feel on the inside is something that just comes from somewhere that I can't actually explain to you. But if I go down that rabbit hole, it spirals into this really ugly world of beating up Haiti. And part of that beat up goes towards my food as well. Because I will sit and eat, not because I'm hungry. I'm not a normal eater. I can't sit down and eat this because this means nothing. This means nothing. I eat till I get uncomfortable. I need to eat till I feel full on the inside. So for me, spending years of being that perfectionist and that 100% fantastic mother and that fantastic wife and that awesome daughter and that fabulous perfect friend, without really showing people how I'm feeling in case I'm judged, or as we talk about not being liked.
Right. And so we're talking about how we're looking and how we're looking toward you guys to approve of the way that I am, because I have absolutely no idea of who I am, except for this really sad, confused person. And so it's important to me that you tell me that I have a nice shirt on, or that I'm a fabulous doctor, or that I'm your best friend, because inside I have absolutely no idea of who I am.
Or for saying to people things that I don't really mean. Yes, I'll do that. Sure, I'll take on more work. I'm only involved in PTSA and running with my kids and juggling work and all these. But But sure, hand over your crap and I'll take it on as well, because you know what, you are more important than I am, and I want you to like me, so I really am going to stuff whatever I'm feeling in case I offend you and say no. So no for me is a word that I've always struggled with, especially to other people. To myself, I had no issue saying no, but to other people, I always struggle.
You did have a problem saying no to yourself. You had a problem saying no to yourself with food. And you had a problem saying no to yourself with, as far as when you ask me, can you go to Philadelphia and pick up my kid, because I can't, and I really can't do that because I'm going to miss work, and I say yes, the first person that I'm denying is me. So I'm not saying no to me.
Right. So that no means, it becomes to mean something different.
Right.
So that's that same point of being able to treat myself well is something I've had to learn. So I thought abstaining and dieting and willpower was a sign of strength, and yes, my weight is all about strength and willpower, and it really isn't, because no matter what I'm doing, no matter which diet I've been on, and I've tried all of them, until I really started tapping into what's eating me and getting into recovery and having a program that I could actually rely on and go to, and methods that I could use, I kept on the same spiral. I kept going down, losing weight, having the challenge of, I've lost 80 pounds, now I can start gaining it back. And it becomes this continual cycle of this mind, for lack of a better explanation, of yes, I can do it, and then 2 days later, the magic Monday, all diets start on Monday, and then by like tormental or torrid Tuesday, I'm already beating myself up. Why did you have to go and eat that piece of bread? Okay, so it became like this whole mind game. So this led into the whole question of the addiction, and the addiction is, as a food addict, I loved food. That's what I always told myself. I love food. Mm-hmm. So I know we are both.
I love Percocet, but hey.
And I love pot as well, okay? But the thing is,
whatever.
I honestly never saw myself as an addict. I saw myself as a gourmet. You know, I love food. So I'm the gourmet that really can swap almond flour for wheat, and I can swap this. I can still get what looks like the same thing to try get the same taste, which is that sweet or that savory, whatever it is, and still plan to go have my binges, but you're not the healthier. So if I eat 3 bags of lettuce, there's only 3 bags of lettuce, besides the fact it's 3 bags, okay, it would be these mind games that I start playing with myself. So I'm able to use in a way that's socially acceptable.
And so what you're doing is your actions on the outside, again, are reflecting how you're feeling inside. And you think if you change what you're doing on the outside, you're going to feel better inside. But that's backward, you guys.
And you don't know what I've eaten. You know, it's different than when you're drinking. And you're drinking and you've had too much to drink and you woohoo and the clothes are coming off or you're falling down, and there's a different thing.
That's true with alcohol. With drugs, and we have other people in here that have been opiate addicts. Nobody knows when I'm on opiates.
Right. So those are the toughest addictions. Yeah. I think my addiction is far worse than yours because I carry it on the inside.
That was a nanny boo-boo.
Yeah. So I carry it on the inside. It just kills me slower. Mm-hmm. So it may take me longer to get that fatty liver and die of a heart attack or have a stroke. But the thing is, so I shove my fingers down my throat and I've puked 1,000,000 times. Who knows what my esophagus looks like? But mine's worse than yours.
Right.
Because when you are drunk, you need help.
Well, when I'm drunk, all of you people think I need help. And so when we just talked about, because we talked about for a couple seconds before, what's the difference between addictions and how do you rate your addiction compared to my addiction? And so I'm going to tell you that in the inside, every one of us feels the same. Every time I pick up a drink or a drug or I starve myself, I feel the same as you guys do when you're binging or overeating or vomiting or whatever your choice to use or not use is that day. The shame is the same. The difference is that if I drink a bottle of tequila and I show up this morning, all of you guys know it. And so it's out. If you guys eat 3 pound cakes before you come here this morning, nobody knows it except for you. And so it's actually harder. Also because people still, I love to talk about drug addiction and alcoholism in here because I know in here and out there, everybody's like, ooh, she's a drug addict. She's an alcoholic. I just eat too much. It's the same. So, as Haiti says, I do believe too with the food addiction that it's worse than any other addiction, because we do say also that we're only as sick as our secrets, and that's the truth. And so, if I'm trashed and everybody knows I'm trashed, that secret is out. If you ate the 16 chocolate bars, or you ate one chocolate bar and you stuck your finger down your throat, that secret stays with you unless you decide to share it. And when we talk about who dies faster, on the inside, we're all dying at the same rate. All of us. And so what's dying is how we feel spiritually. It's how we feel unhappy, and we feel ashamed, and we feel guilty, and we feel demoralized, and we feel depressed. That we all got in common, right? How many people at this point, how many people in this room at some point have tried to diet or control the amount of food that they take in? Okay, so everybody has, so we all have that in common. How many people, when they promise themselves, when they wake up in the morning that today they're gonna do their 900 calories and they don't do it, how many people feel guilty about that? How many people go to bed ashamed? How many people wake up with the fuck-its and say, you know what? I did it yesterday, so it doesn't really matter. I think we have to fix it. It doesn't really matter. I might as well go ahead and do it again today, and I'll start again on Monday. That's a whole lying to ourselves thing that we talked about. I'll start again on Monday. That every time I picked up on a lie. So all of the stuff that we talk about, and the reason why I talk about drug addiction and my alcoholism, is because it's easy for everybody to see. It's easy for everybody to judge. It's easy for all of you to say, well, I'm not as bad as she is because she's a drug addict. She's a junkie. She's an alcoholic. I just eat too much. And so I'm gonna ask you to be honest. And how many people in this room have looked at it that way? Well, I just eat too much and I need to stop eating. I'm not shooting up, right? When I am in anorexic mode, I feel like that's an and I know better. I feel like it's like a cleaner addiction than drinking, right? Shaking your head, right? And that's what we were talking about before. So about whose addiction's worse, what makes our addiction worse. But in the end, spiritually, we all feel the same. And so it's the same. What makes it worse for you guys is that it's easier to keep your secrets inside than it is for me to keep my secrets.
What do you mean we all feel the same? What's the same part?
We've all gone through, so you missed a little bit.
I'm
Good
sorry.
morning. No, that's okay. Good morning. Thank you for being here. We were talking about, like if we diet and we can get through the day behaving the way that we said that we were going to behave, and that we feel guilty and ashamed. And so that guilt and shame, that's how we all feel. So when we're beating ourselves up, which actually puts ourselves in our own way, not to start with a clean slate again tomorrow. Yeah.
For me, with food, it's always been this cycle of self-sabotage and self-loathing.
Okay.
Just it's this, and sometimes you get over it, and sometimes you're okay, and sometimes you're not. But the thing I've said for probably 20 years about food is, you don't have to do drugs. You don't have to drink.
Okay. So everybody's heard my story.
But I have to eat food to
yes,
stay
you
alive.
do. So.
You can't avoid it.
Excuse me. So you're allergic to shrimp, and every time you eat shrimp, you go into anaphylaxis, and we have to call 911. Okay? And so it's Johnny's birthday, and we're all going out, and Johnny loves fish, and we're going to the fish restaurant. Are you going to order shrimp?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Why?
Because I don't want to die.
Because it makes you sick, right? And you don't want to die. What's the difference? You can choose to have chicken and salad as opposed to having pasta and bread. You can make that choice. You are not a victim. You have to eat.
It's not a victim mentality, though. It's a you can choose vodka to hydrate or water to hydrate, but you must hydrate.
I understand, but
for me, I can choose chicken.
Yes, you can.
But I can also choose like 42 chicken breasts.
That's correct.
So
that's correct.
That's the thing. Like I have to eat or I die.
Okay,
where
but
I don't have to use or I'll die.
Right.
No,
Just
I
give me one
understand
little second.
that. I understand that, but that's where the conundrum.
So that's
comes in
such
for
a good
me.
point, though, because that's the attitude that everybody takes in the beginning.
No,
That's
not only
definitely
that,
the
not only
attitude.
that. You can choose not to be in a bar if you're addicted to alcohol. You can choose not to have drugs in your home it's really difficult not to have food. in our
Excuse me, it's all really difficult never to go to Publix, never to go to Walgreens, never to go anywhere
Where there's
they
alcohol.
sell my drug
Yeah.
of choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let you talk one more second. And the thing is that again, we're talking about changing our behavior as opposed to talking about changing how we feel. So we're talking about changing the behavior so that we feel better, as opposed to learning to live in recovery so that we don't pick up.
It's always felt like an excuse to me.
Sounds like an
To
excuse
say-
does it
to
sound like
say
an excuse
I
to
have to
anybody?
eat or I will die.
It's like that thing you were talking about, the birthday party, and we're gonna go to the birthday party, and
Yeah.
and it's just, oh, it's just a slice of cake,
Yeah.
and oh, it's okay.
And so when we're feeling better, and I'm gonna let you know, when we're feeling better, and if I don't shut up, and she is an addict, and I'm her sponsor, I'm gonna have to hear about it from next week. But when we change the way that we feel, that's what changes our actions, not backward. And so we're talking about backward.
So
Yes, ma'am.
none of us choose to be addicts. It's something that's a condition that we find ourselves in. So I've got two things that I deal with. One is a physical allergy to certain foods. So when I choose to put certain substances into my body, those are my trigger foods. What happens is I start getting these unbelievable cravings. It plays into my willpower, what I call willpower, and that's all I obsess about. So if I have certain things, like my trigger foods, everyone is different. Mine are starches and sugars. If I start putting those into my body, for weeks afterwards, I can't get enough of it. And not only that, I've got a second part to this whole picture, which is what I call stinking thinking, which is a twist of the mind, which is really that obsessive compulsive behavior. Then I will go, but what difference does one bite make? It's my birthday, it's a day to celebrate. I haven't eaten it in 6 months. What difference does one bite make? And the minute I pick up that bite, it's like a spiral straight into hell. And that's really what it is for me, because it becomes that non-stop chatter and that non-stop arguing and that non-stop exhaustion. Because at the end of the day, I'm so exhausted. When I'm in addiction mode, not only am I mean and horrible to myself, but I'm mean and horrible to the people around me. I will create enough chaos in my world to be able to justify why I should use. And remember, my drug of choice is food. So it is everywhere. It makes it really easy to get. So if I was into something like oxycodone, trust me, I'd still be able to. If I really wanted to get it, I get it. It's just a little bit harder, but there isn't one 7-Eleven that I couldn't go to at 2 o'clock in the morning if I really wanted to punish myself with Ben and Jerry's. So I mean, there's really, for us, it makes it a little bit trickier because we've got to think about it. We've got to be present in ourselves to be able to say, listen, these are my trigger foods. These are the things that react to me. And no matter what you say to me, and no matter whether it's your birthday, and happy birthday, I'm the happiest person for you, Alison, that it's your birthday today, but I can't touch that cake. I choose
Yes, you
not to.
can. I
choose
choose
not to.
today not to eat the cake. I'm in recovery, and today I'll make that choice not to use.
And no matter what you say to me, even if it's the one bite, you know what, that one bite to me is a staircase to hell. And that is one of the things that I've had to learn, because I always thought that I could eat like a normal person. I thought if I stayed away long enough, I could eat like my husband, who could just sit down and eat and stop when he's full and leave food in his plate. But for me, people are starving in India and Africa, and I've got to finish every single thing in my plate. Okay.
And for me, it just tastes good. I don't care if I'm full. Let me,
And for me, I just love to be high. So there you go.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Same thing. It's the same thing. We're talking about the same brain chemistry, you guys. We're talking about the dopamine receptor. Same.
There's no law of diminishing return for me for chocolate cake. None.
Absolutely.
The first bite is as good as the last bite.
Absolutely. So in the rooms, they say 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. Because once we take that first drink or that first bite of chocolate cake or that first Percocet, we're off to the races.
No.
All bets
Those are the
off.
things that I love the most too, which is what is
Okay. So
about.
we're gonna talk about this again.
When you say trigger food though, and I think of these things that I love because it is sweets, it's cakes, it's cookies, it's all those things.
Okay.
I love them so much.
Listen. So you reward yourself with that, right?
Well, when I think when the self-sabotage isn't that bad, yes, and then it's like you said, then the loathing and the sabotage begins, because it's like, can I curse?
Yes.
Fuck it, whatever, I've done it. Like,
I can't believe she
whatever.
said that.
I know.
So you reward yourself by smacking yourself
This is
over
good.
the head with a hammer.
Well, that's where the self-sabotage, I know better. I
Right,
know,
you
I know,
don't.
but how do
Listen.
I get over that
Okay,
wall?
I'm going to tell you because you know better, but you don't feel better.
No, it's true.
So it's not about knowing.
It feels so good when I first eat the cake.
Yeah,
it's so
I feel
good.
so awesome when I feel that
yes,
first
yes.
30
It's
oxycodone
perfect.
hit. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's divine.
And then I have
Something
another one, and then I
spectacular.
have another one, and then I have another one, and then
Then you hate yourself.
yeah,
Yeah, I get it.
yeah, yes.
But when you say, you know, with the thinking versus the behavior part, I mean, I understand it, but I kind of don't understand.
I know that you don't. And so, and I'm glad that you say that because that's the challenge with most folks. And so I know that if I wake up this morning and I do something that logically I understand at the end of the day is gonna cause me to feel demoralized and I do it anyway, I got a problem. And so why am I doing it? I'm doing it because I wake up in the morning and I say, gee, today I hope that everybody that I know hates me and I get to go to bed hating myself. I've never woken up in my life, not one day in my life with that intention. Never. But I went through the day and I did it anyway. And so what was wrong? Because, and we talked, you guys, we talk about, you know, my 17-year-old died and that's when I started drinking. I had a kid that died in an accident and that's when I started drinking. So it was kind of easier to pinpoint then what my challenge was, right? Because I was sad and I was confused and I was afraid and I was guilty and it was too much for me to feel or too much for me that I wanted not to feel. And so it was easy to see at that point what I was covering up. I didn't need to drink, I needed help. And so whenever we're doing something to self-sabotage or that we know at the end of the day is gonna hurt us, we're gonna feel like crap, we're gonna feel ashamed, we're gonna feel demoralized, and we do it anyway, there's something going on, right? There's something going on. And so what is it that's going on? And that's what we talk about in recovery. Can we do a real quick go around?
Please.
Does everybody mind to introduce themselves?
I'm Robin. I come here for a lot of different reasons, but mostly it's because I know I cannot do things on my own anymore. I would like to get pregnant and I can't because I'm like huge and you know like and so that was my weak point where I was like, okay, this has to stop. I need to relearn how to think so I don't eat.
Right, so you need to learn how to live in recovery.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. Why are you here? Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Johnny, and I'm here because it's my program stops there, and I'm kidding. It's my program. I'm almost 4 months in, and I've almost lost so much weight that the guard won't let me in anymore.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were.
No, that's okay. No, that's not. I'm done.
We don't say I'm sorry in here, we say I'm
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm
I'm awesome, I
You couldn't
interrupted
look at him,
you.
so you didn't know he
So,
was finished
yeah.
talking.
Go ahead.
I'm Laura, and I'm here because I need to learn to deal with the stress in my life and not cope with the stress by beating myself up.
Great, I'm doing something else that's gonna stress you out more.
Yes.
Okay, next.
I'm
Okay.
Jen, and Laura introduced me to this idea, and I would like to figure out how it is that I know what I'm supposed to do and I still don't do it.
Fair enough.
I still don't do it cyclically
Fair enough.
for years and years and years.
Fair enough. So you want to understand what it is?
Yeah,
that
how
allows
do I know
you-
how to get where I need to be, and I just can't seem to get myself there.
Perfect.
And stay there healthfully.
Right. Yeah. So we could stop. We just can't stay stopped.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, how about, and I don't know if this is right or not, that you know, some things are hard to do, and sometimes it's hard to do hard things. Sometimes some things are harder to do than other things.
That's correct.
Okay, and there is this aspect about doing things that are hard to do.
Fair enough.
You know, and
So we're talking
sometimes-
about changing on the outside instead of changing on the inside. Because when we change on the inside, even though it's hard to do, we do it. Randy?
Well, right, and I understand that, but I think that if it's worth doing, sometimes it's harder to do. This is a
Listen,
tough-
I agree.
You know,
I agree. Some things are hard to do. So that's why we build ourselves up
I mean, it took me
spiritually.
62 years to get here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Brandy?
Randy, just working my recovery.
Okay. You okay this morning?
I'm just really
Tired? Okay, fair enough.
I'm Ashley, and I just need help and support.
Thank you, Ashley.
I'm Allison, and I'm here because I need a change and a system that, will help me
Okay. A change in a system to help you,
recover.
to be in record, to feel better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to feel better, to feel happy, healthy, right? Joyous, have some serenity in our lives.
I'm not, and in theory, I know everything.
Of course you do.
Good company.
But I self-sabotage continuously. And I'm aware of the fact that it's not what I do, it's what it's me. Definitely.
Yeah,
I tell that to everybody else.
You're
Just
aware
don't
of what?
listen to myself.
right, exactly. Exactly. She said that it's not what we eat, it's what's eating us.
And what?
I'm smiling at you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Angeli, and I'm here because I need help, and because I realized that this is the first thing that's actually worked. And by work I mean I've seen it change, and I've tried lots of stuff.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Can I ask everyone a question? Is there anyone scared of dogs? I've got a little dog and he's going to keep barking. Can I let him out?
Okay, so momentarily. Okay, and so everybody said that they need some help, right? And everybody said that they need some help and that they don't want to self-sabotage, and that cognitively, and when we say cognitively, we know what to do. Again, we know what to do as far as our behavior goes, but we don't know what to do as far as our feelings go, and why we're eating those feelings, right? Or what's eating us. And I'm going to ask truthfully, is it, yes ma'am?
I had a question.
Sure.
When talking about triggered foods,
Mm-hmm.
how do you say to yourself, okay, so these are my triggered foods,
Mm-hmm.
and these foods
Mm-hmm.
I cannot have. or
I
don't
choose not to have.
I don't choose to have for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you say, like, you really love chocolate, or I really love, like, potatoes and, like, cheesy,
Me too.
how do I
Oh, me
say,
too.
like, I choose to abstain from these things?
So first thing I'm
Forever.
going to ask you, you love chocolate? What's your love?
Yeah.
Like what would you say you loved?
Like
you
mine
said,
was,
what
like, fast food and, like, carbs and...
Okay, so you love hamburgers and French fries.
Yeah.
Let's say, okay, you love hamburgers and French fries. How do you feel after you eat the hamburgers and French fries?
Terrible. Guilt. Right?
So, in the end, you love something that you know. Think about this. I'm going to say out loud that I love something that I know in the end is going to make me feel guilty, ashamed, and demoralized. I love whatever's going to make me feel guilty, ashamed, and demoralized. Right? And so what we teach in recovery is how you understand what you're in control of, what you're not in control of, and how you can choose to love other stuff. How you could choose to love yourself, how you could choose to be grateful for what's going on around you, and how you could learn, no matter what you're eating or what you're drinking or what you're not eating or not drugging or not drinking, that you can learn to love your life, and that you can learn once you feel better inside, that you will learn that those behaviors that we used to have before, those things that are baffling you right now, aren't going to baffle you anymore. Because when you get to wake up in the morning and make good choices and feel great and not have to feel guilty and ashamed, that's a great day. And you'll learn to love that great day. And that's going to mean a whole lot more to you than eating a hamburger and French fries.
So I used to wake up in the mornings that I couldn't get out of bed. My back was so sore, my knees were excruciating. I was out of breath when I walked around Publix. There were days that I just really couldn't move. I mean, my energy levels, besides feeling like I was in a food coma half the time, my brain was foggy. I just felt terrible. Besides that feeling of going into department stores and trying to shop for something. I mean, honestly, my closet was reduced down to 3 or 4 items that I'd wear day after day after day after day, because those were the things that I felt comfortable in. So it became more question of how do I want to feel at the end of the day rather than what I'm putting into my body. So the food choices that I make are based on how I want to feel more than what I like. Because if I just eat the things that I like, I know how I land up, because they don't make me feel good on the inside. I was having a conversation with my 13-year-old, and we were talking about, foods that we're sensitive to and trigger foods, and his whole face fell. I mean, honestly, the thought of him never wanting to be able to touch bread. I mean, bread is my favorite thing. I walk into a bakery, I want to shove my whole face into a freshly made, crusty piece of bread and eat my way out. I mean, that's really where I want to see myself. His whole face collapsed. Like, this is his best friend. Like, he's going to give up his best friend if he never has a slice. And I'm not saying he has to never have a slice again. It's his choice of what he decides to do. But when we think in the greater realm of all the different food types that are out there and the millions of different options that we have, that we put our happiness in a few items, that no matter what else is out there, that's all that we're focusing on, sometimes that speaks louder than anything else. So when those items are calling my name, it's kind of like the pot and the cigarettes and all the other stuff that start calling my name, and they do. I dream about food and stuff. They talk to me in my sleep. I have
They're drug dreams.
They
Same
are.
as drug dreams.
And they're real, and I can smell them, and I can almost taste them. I mean, honestly, if you had to put it in front of me, I don't know what I'd do at that stage, but the thing is, it's okay. It really is. I mean, I've abstained from my trigger foods in over a year, and do you know what? The need for them diminishes over time. Do I ever stop thinking about them? No. Do I really crave them? Not like I used to, where I had to give in. I mean, I was compelled to give in to certain things. Now there are other things. Now I've got a program that works, and dealing with my trigger food really becomes something that's a lot easier because I have so many more choices. When we're in our addiction, we're in a very small tunnel. Our world is very, very small, and what we're seeing and thinking, our thoughts are in such a small place, and they don't step out of there, that all of a sudden when we start heading into recovery, the world is so much bigger, and there's so many other things out there, and it's so much more joyful.
Right, and that's the whole thing, is that it's so much more joyful. And so that's the part that we need to remember, that no matter how great we think we feel when we eat that chocolate, it's always playing it through to the end. Okay, I'm gonna eat this, let me play it through to the end. Right now, in the beginning, the only thing you can say, well, I'm gonna play this through to the end, and still I don't give a shit, I'm gonna eat it anyway, and tomorrow I won't do it. And that's because you don't have recovery. And so recovery allows us to say, wow, today my life is amazing, it's important, I'm going to go out and be of service. I'm gonna choose other things that I'm gonna do that are gonna make me happy, so that I don't have to down a bottle of tequila. I'm going to learn how to respect myself, and I'm going to learn to let go of those demons, to let go of my secrets, to let go of my sadness by doing those things, so that I don't have to do something that I think feels good, that in the end punishes me and makes me feel more like shit than I did to begin with. Oh, I'm stressed. I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to feel twice as stressed. If you think about it, it's crazy. And so our behaviors are crazy because we don't have any other mechanisms to learn how to deal with stress. Listen, life is stressful. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. My 17-year-old son is as dead today as he was the day that he died. I can choose to live with that sadness, which I chose to live with that sadness for a really long time, to hold on to that sadness, and in the end became my excuse not to stay clean.
Not to what?
Stay clean. Or I could let it go and learn another way to live. For me, I was in treatment for 6 months. Again, you guys, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And if it was easy, none of us would be here.
Listen, I'm an addict. I've looked for the quick, easy fix. I mean,
Right.
I've done everything. Those quick diets that you can lose 5 pounds in a day. Laxatives were awesome. There were some amazing things you could use. I even went for bariatric surgery and paid outpatient because I thought it was a quick fix that would fix everything. So I've always looked for that quick, softer way. But this recovery really is the quick, softer way at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the toughest part and the scariest part of recovery is learning to love ourselves. And that is the biggest stumbling block that I came across when I started getting into the program, is spending time to be quiet enough to get to know myself. So we don't strive for perfection. Right? We all have relapses. We all have things that we stumble and fall, because I think it's a perfectionism in us that makes us, that connects us as addicts too.
That's one of the things,
Yeah, it's one of the things. So when is the last time you binged?
What I relapsed 13 months ago. And so I'm back, I had 7 years clean, and I'm back 14 months.
So mine was 4 hours before my 1 year anniversary of abstaining. Right?
Wow.
So that's how cocky I was. That's how much I thought that I was in control of this whole process and that I could control it, and it became a mind game, and that's when I really lost it. So now it's 90 days.
Yeah, oh, awesome.
So my 90 days was on the 17th. So that's one of my mile markers. But
very good.
the difference between this time and the last time was that I didn't beat myself up. So there's a difference. I mean, I feel bad that, I went through a whole lot of feelings about it, but they were just feelings.
Right. And feelings aren't facts. And so we talk about this, right? Feelings are just feelings. They're not facts. We could change our feelings. I can't change the fact that that keyboard is a keyboard. But if I came here today and I'm angry and I'm pissed off because, the person in front of me cut me off on the way here, I could change that feeling. I could choose to be so grateful that I got here, so grateful that I heard my favorite song, which I did, one of my favorite songs, on the way here, that I have an amazing car, great stereo system. I can go with all of that stuff, or I could be pissed off that somebody in front of me who doesn't even know me made a mistake, and I'm gonna carry that through the day, and I'm gonna call you. Can you believe, you know what happened? I was going to the meeting this morning, and this asshole cut me off and went right in front of me like I wasn't even there. Right? Right? Or I could say, oh my God, I had like the best ride over, which as soon as I came in, what did I say? I heard like one of my most favorite songs on the way over here today. That's a choice. Those feelings, coming from a place of gratitude or coming from a place of pissed offness, those are choices that I make on a regular basis. And, real quick, and so we talked about why you can't, or why you choose not you can't, why you choose not to do your gratitude list. That gratitude gives you 30 seconds of reflecting back on your day and looking for things that really made you super happy. Little tiny things that made you super happy. I'm gonna play that song for you. You're gonna love it. Put it on your gratitude list. So little tiny things that made you super happy, as opposed to why you're pissed off today, why you're sad today, why you're crying right now. Let her cry. Why you're crying right now. Yeah.
I just wanted to know I'm also here.
Because that crying, you're crying because there's something going on. And that something going on, whatever's going on, they're feelings that you're having. They're just feelings, they're not facts. Okay? And so you'll learn to look at life differently so that those feelings can change. Probably a lot of what you're feeling are about things. So we say, fear is I'm either afraid of losing something that I don't have, I'm losing something that I have, or not getting something that I want. And that really has to do with control. So, I don't know if you want to share? Okay, perfect. And so we can talk about it later if you want to talk about it later, or at any time. Okay. And so, I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot, I think.
Yeah. Is there
About 15
anybody that
10
can
minutes.
share anything that they're feeling with us? Yes, ma'am.
You had mentioned secrets,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess my question is, does every secret have to be revealed?
So it depends on what your motives are, and it depends on what's a secret, and nothing has to be nothing. You know what I mean? It depends on how well you choose to be. And so if I, not saying something and saying something, again, it depends on your motive. So why wouldn't I tell somebody my secret? Why wouldn't I say that yesterday I ate 14 chocolate bars? Why wouldn't I say that? Well, I wouldn't say it because I'm embarrassed. And I'm worried about how you're gonna see me. But you know what? How you see me is about you, it ain't about me. Right? And so we're gonna learn that your opinion of me, my opinion of me is what matters. If I show up and do the next right thing and you leave here hating me, that's about you. It's not about me. The only thing that I'm responsible for is showing up and doing the next right thing. Right? Something that doesn't give me a stomachache. Something that allows me to act with kindness. Something that I feel fits into the whole scheme of the universe. And so I'm gonna ask you, do you feel courageous enough right now, and it's okay if you don't, to talk about one thing that's one secret that you don't feel comfortable sharing?
That's good.
Yeah, because you brought it up. And so
Yeah.
if not, then I can ask somebody else, so.
No, I think this is good. I had bariatric surgery like 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
And part of the system and the plan is to, for the first 2 weeks, just have liquids.
Mm-hmm.
Just full liquids, protein shakes, that kind of thing. So on like day 7,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Whatever
Or
day, one
whatever
day.
I was like, I really want like to chew on something,
Mhm.
to like consume like food.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like I was like, okay, if I like eat it and like chew it up and make it like a liquid consistency, I'm good. Like I'm fine. So I had like a piece of pork,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a mistake. Like
Mhm.
it just like I threw it up. Like I felt really terrible. Like it was awful. And then I was like, okay, lesson learned.
Okay, and so I'm gonna interrupt you because that's what I do. And so you chewed it and it made you vomit.
Yeah.
That's what happened physically.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel spiritually about it?
I felt really like I can't do this.
But
Like, I
but
don't think.
but you talked about talking about a secret.
Mhm.
And so why would you think that that was important enough to keep it a secret? Did anybody just judge?
No.
Right? Who's in a non-judgment zone right now?
I actually
Non-judgment.
sat here and said, but chewing feels so good. Like that's an important
Okay.
part.
Oh, I
of
got
living.
it. I totally
To
got it.
me,
Okay. Like I said,
actually
I thought I
chewing
would all
is
get it.
really important.
And
That's where the
everybody's done it.
satisfaction
Everybody's
comes from
done
a lot of
it.
Allison,
times. Yeah.
I happened to find a little video I'd made on myself like 2 days after the surgery, okay? Actually, it was probably a few days later, and all I'm saying in this thing is I wish I could chew something. All I missed was chewing something, and not only chewing something, but having something hot to chew, because all I've been doing are these cold protein drinks
Right.
that were driving me crazy. I also push it. Everyone does it because we push it, because we go into these surgeries as addicts. Your behaviors don't change overnight. It took me 44 years to get into the position that I was in. It wasn't going to shift overnight. But the one thing is by doing those certain things, is keeping our mind on why did we do it in the first place. We didn't do surgery as a first resort. It was an absolute last resort of desperation. And the second thing is, how did we feel after we did that? And the third biggest component, which became the toughest part for surgery for me, because I couldn't eat my feelings, I had to find other ways of getting them out. So we get sick enough often enough, it starts getting us focused on what are we and what's actually eating us, to be able to talk about it, because is it worth keeping on the inside if it's going to make us feel that terrible?
You know, and I always said, and it's funny because I always used to say, you know, going through treatment, drug and alcohol treatment, and I'm sure you could relate to this, would be a lot easier if we didn't have to do it straight. Right? Because now I stopped drugging. I stopped, for me, I was on anorexic watch because right now I weigh like $135 and I weighed a little under 100 pounds. So I was 35 pounds lighter than I am now. Because for me, when I can't use to starve myself, that's like my cleanest, easiest drug of choice, because people look at you and they say, oh my God, you look fabulous, you're so skinny. Yeah, I'm dying. I'm trying to kill myself right now, but thanks so much for the
The
compliment.
difference between obesity and anorexia is the shopping's much cuter when you're anorexic.
Exactly. There you go. So
You can still shop at Banana Republic.
exactly. And so the hardest thing about recovery is having to be in recovery while you're going through the beginning of recovery. That's the hardest thing. Is okay, right now I'll tell you, 8 years ago or so, I used to call one of my therapists in the morning and say, her name was Carol. Carol, I know you're probably not listening, but I love you and I miss you. I'd call her in the morning and I'd say, you know what, this happened and this is how I feel. Like, do normal people feel like that? And if I feel like that, what do I do about it? Because I was so used to numbing myself that any feeling that I had perplexed me. I didn't know how to deal with it. And that kind of makes me the same as every other addict. And you guys are gonna find that your secrets are what make you the same as every other addict.
I think your secret's very normal, actually. Like, I think that's a totally normal.
It's almost not a secret. It's like
but it's a secret to her. Like, if you don't realize that other people go, oh man, I feel exactly that same way. It does feel very.
So Edison, I have to ask you a question. So once you've got that out, how do you feel right now?
I feel good. I mean, I got it out with
smiling.
Ashley. And I had cause, unfortunately, I did it again 3 days later.
Okay.
And that was the point where I had a very was crying, and I had a conversation with my twin brother, and he kind of helped me work through it. And then I also had a conversation with Ashley. So they kind of helped me through it, where normally I wouldn't, if I was binge eating or eating something that I wasn't supposed to, then I would keep it inside. It would not be expressed outwardly.
Yeah, and to begin with, when you started talking, first you talked and you said a couple days later, I chewed on this and it made me throw up. And you got the response that you did from all of us, because everyone's like, okay, and? Haiti tells me things, I'm her sponsor, and I'm like, okay, and? Right? You tell me things, I'm like, okay, and where is the part that you're gonna tell me something that I'm gonna judge you? Is that coming now? But anyway, and you told about the one time, and then we all giggled about it, and I did that, and we're all exactly the same, which we know that we are. And then you told about the second time. And instead of you saying, to begin with, wow, twice since I've had my surgery, because we're scared, and we're afraid of people judging us. And that's how everybody feels. And what are they gonna think about me? And I tell you what, there's a person in here that has a problem with you because you're a human being and you made a mistake, then F them if they can't take a joke, okay? The only thing that you are in this room is a woman who's doing her best to do her best. That's all you are. That's why they're here. Because all of us that are here right now, whether we thought it was gonna help, whether we thought it was gonna hurt, whether you leave loving us or hating us or feeling indifferent or whatever, everybody came here this morning because they wanna make a change. Because they wanna just do their best to do their best. Is it gonna happen overnight? We said again, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not easy. This is the hard stuff. Learning how not to be fearful of what other people think, which is none of your business anyway, but learning how not to have that fear, that's part of recovery. And you feel, and I can see it because you said it and now you're after you are smiling and happy, where before that's not the face that you had on. So it feels better. So that's why we're only as sick as our secrets, because every time I keep that in, I feel ashamed. I feel demoralized. I feel beating myself up, chatter, oh my God, and what are they gonna say, and what if, and and maybe if I didn't tell them about the second time, because the first time, okay, maybe that's gonna be okay, but the second time, all of that stuff that we do to ourselves, it keeps us sick.
And one of the things with addiction is I use the most when I'm on my own. So isolating is something I've taught myself to do, because I eat properly in front of other people. It's when I'm on my own that I actually have my parties. Right.
Yes.
So the big thing,
yes.
So one of the reasons I'm here is recovery is so much easier when you're in a group of people that are similar to ourselves, because it helps us stay accountable. No one's judging, and makes us being able to laugh at the things that we do rather than keeping it in a sad, depressing place inside us. because that's where the joy comes from, is being able to let go of the shit. Because at the end of the day, it's either coming in or it's coming out, and it just
Right.
manifests on the outside.
Right. Thank you so much for being so brave for sharing. That was amazingly awesome. And I tell you what, when you are scared and you don't want to share, your share somewhere just sets somebody else free. And that was you doing service. That was you being of service to the universe. That was you putting out your hand to somebody else.
What role, if any, and I know as addicts, you're always at risk of picking up. And
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What role, if any, does some semblance of longevity of recovery have in terms of further extended?
So most of us who have, thank you for asking that. So most of us who have sustained recovery, listen, I'm gonna tell you the story that every other addict does. In my 7th year of being clean, I stopped going to meetings. I had sponsees, but I didn't have any sponsor. I stopped going to these things. I stopped going to White Weight for Recovery. I started working on my outside life and let go of working on what was happening inside. There were some big things going on. Actually, we were in some business venture together, and I was scared. And I was running around on ego, and I really didn't need any help, by the way, because I'm awesome. So I never need help. I don't need to ask for help because I got this thing. And as soon as I got this thing, and I decide that I'm smarter, happier, healthier, whatever, on my own without asking for help, that's when I pick up. That's my default. That's my Google. That's when I open up the computer in my brain, and Google says, oh, it's time, you went to the dentist, it's time to get a Percocet. Just one. Because you know what? It's not gonna matter. I'm in pain, and I'm just gonna take one, and I'm just gonna take one bite, right? I'm just gonna take one perk, you know, and it's only for today. And did I tell anybody? No. When I was confronted by a couple of people who knew me, who loved me, who were afraid, did I say anything except for work your own effing program? No. That's exactly what I said. Work your own effing program. Because I'm awesome and I got this. And every single one of us sitting in these chairs at one point has said, I don't need your help. I could do this on my own. And it just don't work that way.
But conversely, do you build up some kind of chops?
Absolutely. Does it make it easier? Yeah. Does it allow you, when you're connected in a group like this, to be, you think if I was sitting in a group right here and I came on Sunday morning, that any of you guys would have let me get away with that? If you knew that I went to the dentist, and you're my patient, if you knew that I went to the dentist and I was on Percocet and whatever, would you have a conversation with me about it? Shit, yeah, you would. First of all, because you want your doctor to show up for work tomorrow, right?
Yes.
If only that. And because you care about me,
Yes.
right? And so somebody would have called me up. Would you have let me get away with that? No, you wouldn't. And so at least we would have had the conversation where I would have known that I wasn't alone. And that whatever I was going through, I needed to get to the core of what was eating me so that I didn't need to binge. Because it don't matter what we're binging on.
So I just have to ask this question because we're kind of reaching that time as well. So has anyone got any burning desires or something really in them at the moment that's driving them crazy, that's going to set you off on a spree or an eating frenzy or something that we've tapped into that you want to share it? Because we're going to start wrapping up and we're going to start closing soon.
Okay, I'm ready now.
Okay, sure.
I'm angry.
Fair enough. At?
My husband,
Okay, because?
because he cheated on me.
Okay, and I feel?
I feel used,
Okay. How else do you feel?
betrayed.
How else do you feel?
I feel like my struggle has been that I want to forgive him because I want to repair my marriage, but my struggle is that I'm still angry.
Right, right. And so, until you can change how you feel spiritually, because how you feel is unloved, abandoned, and abused. That's how you feel, if we could put those feeling words to it, right? So you're feeling all of those feelings. And so it's learning how to say your actions, yeah, you did this, and it pissed me off because I'm a human being, and I'm angry, and me looking at those feelings and deciding how I can change the way that I feel, and then making a decision, right? And so what's the difference between acceptance and abuse, right? What's the difference between acceptance and somebody crossing the line? For me personally, if you cheat on me, you can get the fuck out. That's just who I am. That's for me, that would be an abandonment issue. I got my own issues from how I was brought up, and that wouldn't be something that I wanted to sit in, just like I don't want to sit in a bar. For me, it would be too difficult. There are a lot of people out there that go through it and they're okay with it, but the only time they're okay with it is when they get okay with themselves. And so we talked about fear, and all of our negative feelings are based on fear. Fear means I'm afraid of losing something that I already have, or afraid that I'm not going to get what I want. So you're afraid of losing your husband, the way that your lifestyle is, the family thing, that, right? Your identity, because part of your identity is you being a wife, right? And in the future, perhaps not getting what it is that you want or that you need. And so in recovery, we learn that people die. Not only do they cheat, but they die. You know, and when somebody dies, we have a lot of the same feelings. So it's learning to live with those feelings, to remember that feelings aren't facts, that we have control over in time. So we're all going to react because we're human. It's how long do we want to stay there? Right? So how long ago was this? How long?
I found out a year and a half ago.
Okay, a year and a half. So now you either have to work on changing how you feel because it happened. And it's not the act, it's the feelings that are associated with the act. He cheated. That's a fact. That's a fact, right? We can't change facts. Feelings we can learn to change. And so we can either have acceptance and look at what's great, or we could say, you know what, this crosses the line, and this just isn't something that I'm going to deal with. And the rest of the world will fall into place as soon as I make some decisions. So we have challenges and we have solutions. As cutthroat and as, you know, I have patients that don't come back to see me because they say I'm mean. You know, and if my honesty is me being mean, then so be it. When we talk about our addictions, boys and girls, whatever your addictions are, we're talking about stuff that's a matter of life and death. And I don't think there's anything sweet about what's causing us to kill ourselves. There ain't nothing sweet out there. So for me, I'm going to be honest, which you know. You've had a challenge a year and a half ago. It's the feelings that you need to learn to either get rid of the problem, you know, get rid of him, or work on changing those feelings. That's the only thing that's going to change. So the change has to come from you, because you can't change what happened yesterday.
But
It's done.
changing her feelings, wouldn't that be settling?
Not necessarily.
Wouldn't that be demeaning to herself?
No, so that's your judgment.
No, I'm asking.
No, I'm saying.
You
So
know what?
that's
You're
how,
right. It's my judgment.
Right.
I went through the same thing.
Exactly. And so
but
that's
it was my
what,
choice. It's
right.
not-
And so
no.
that's what I said. Like for me to say I would get the F out, that's my judgment.
Yeah.
Right?
But
You
changing
feel
your
how you
feelings
feel?
isn't just, oh, I'm okay with this now. It's,
Oh, it's
I
actually
feel
working
this
through
way
it.
and I
Actually,
choose.
really become okay with it.
Exactly.
Without
But she
shoving
doesn't-
something else.
Exactly.
you know?
But the thing is, the assumption is that she's
Yeah, we
going to
gotta wrap it
get
up.
right with it. That's not at all what you're saying.
No, it's
what
not.
she's saying is, whatever the feeling is now, I feel like I can deal with this and I can find a path to continue being married, or I can
can
feel
leave.
this and I can find a path to not be
Exactly,
married. She
exactly.
has a choice either way, and that's what the feeling is.
And-
And celebrate the small things, because she's worked really hard in that year and a half.
Okay.
But
And-
so there's celebration there too. She just
you were talking
is
about her
tough.
gratitude list that she wants to.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
yell
yeah.
at you later
I'm
about that.
going
and,
to,
and we need
'cause
to
she's
wrap
got
up.
a lot.
We
So-
need to wrap up because it's 10
Yeah, we
o'clock.
can talk about this after, but we
Yeah.
do need to start wrapping up. So I just want to go through a couple of things in terms of us being emotional and compulsive overeaters or food addicts or whatever your issues are with food. It is essential, because we lie to ourselves and we've got stinking thinking, we have to have an eating plan. Whatever that looks like, you get it from your nutritionist, you get it from wherever it is. You need a working eating plan, so we can't argue against it. I'm going
to say, pick a buddy, you guys. Have an accountability buddy. And whoever that buddy is, text your eating plan to them for the day. and text it back so
Right.
that we're accountable to
Or
somebody
you
else.
can even put it on our Facebook page.
Put it on our Facebook
We
page.
are all buddies on Facebook. Our Facebook community and group is a closed group. It's for members. It's there for you to use. It's not the Felice and Hailey show. Okay, it's there to post questions, get feedback, get support, post your eating plans. It's there for us to support each other. And if you need help, just post it. I need help today. Call me, reach out, text me, whatever the story is. Put it there. I'm on MyFitnessPal. It helps me. I'll put up my username. My trigger foods I have to abstain from. Get to know yours. Know what sets you off and stay away from them. Gratitude is our attitude. You either text us, Facebook us, WhatsApp us. It shifts the way you're thinking and gets us out of this thing for a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's either in the morning, at night, 20 times a day. It doesn't matter. No one's judging it. You're not going to get graded on it. For some of us, we need to journal. Writing down our feelings helps us stay in contact with them. It even helps us find them. Sometimes just writing and having a quiet space for ourselves helps us find out who we are. And the other big thing is be of service. Whatever it looks like, step outside yourself, be of service to someone else. It shifts your whole world. We meet every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. We have a webinar or face-to-face here, 9 p.m. Wednesday night. After a 16-hour day work or however long day work, we meet up here.
I love it.
It's a great way to finish the day. Also, bring friends. I got into recovery with a friend. We do this because we don't want people be living the way that we did, in pain, struggling, living with shame, living with guilt. It is not the way to live. There is a far better option. And we close out with...
So we're going to close out with the promises, which is from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. Are you amazed before you're halfway through? Yeah, you are. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past. We will not regret the past, right? We'll accept it or wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down that scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and of self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will realize that the universe does for us what we can't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? I don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but they're always going to materialize if we work for them. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm blessed and grateful that you guys are here to be of service to each other today, so thank you so much.
And I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm Hailey, and
Peace out.
have a beautiful week.
Thank you.